Hello students. In our previous lectures we discussed a lot about cell, its structure and different parts of cell. We discussed about discovery of cell and the related discoveries to cell. Now here we will discuss about a very important topic related to cell, that is nucleus. Every part of cell is equally important, but we can say that nucleus is the most important part of the cell, as it is also known as controlling center of all the activities of cell. So let's have a look. Nucleus, it is a control unit of cell. As we have discussed earlier, that in every living being, the basic structural and functional unit of life is cell. Because cell is responsible for performing all the metabolic activities, we can say that every living being, whichever function that living being is performing, that function is actually performed by the cell. For example, if we undergo cell divisions, and if we grow, it means that cell divisions are occurring. If we respire, it means that cell is producing energy. If we are taking nutrition, cell is taking nutrition. It means all the metabolic activities are performed by the cell itself, and there is a particular part within the cell which is responsible for having a control over that activities. So that part for controlling all those activities is nucleus. So that is why it is known as control unit of cell. Now let's discuss about its structure. It is a spherical body, spherical structure that is present in the center in animal cells, and it is present in the periphery in plant cell, because the central position in plant cell is acquired by the vacuole that we have discussed earlier. Now see, it is also a darkly stained structure. Why we say that it is darkly stained? When we prepare some slides of plant cell or animal cell, or when we have a cross section of all those cells, see, we can easily identify the nucleus. How? Because it has the tendency to acquire those stains darkly, or readily it acquire that stain. So that is why that nucleus is darkly stained structure. Now related to its structure, if we discuss in detail, it consists of following parts. Like first part is nuclear envelope. Nuclear envelope, it is just an envelope or that covering of nucleus which prevents the exit of nuclear substances outside the nucleus, and in entry of all those parts or those organelles which are present within the cytoplasm, those parts are not allowed to enter into the nucleus. Then second part is nucleoplasm. Nucleoplasm is a fluid like structure which provides a medium for um, those activities which are performed within the nucleus. Then third part is nucleolus. Nucleolus is a spherical structure that contain RNA or certain ribosomes and proteins. Then fourth part is chromatin network. Chromatin network is actually the genetic material that is responsible for inheritance within the living beings. Now this chromatin network, why we are saying, because we have earlier read, you must have read that actually chromosomes are present which are responsible for those acquiring genes. Genes are the hereditary material, but actually when the cell is not in dividing stage, when it is not dividing, at that time it is in the form of network. But when it undergoes cell division, then those chromatin, they are again they again come in the form of rod like structure, that is chromosome. So this is the structure of nucleus. Structure of nucleus we have discussed right now, but let's have a look over the diagram. See, if we talk about the diagram of nucleus, it is a spherical structure that we have discussed right now. Spherical structure, and it consists of two membranes. So we can say that nucleus is a double membranous structure. See, this is the outer nuclear membrane and this one is inner nuclear membrane. And the space present between both the membranes, it is known as perinuclear space. So this one is outer nuclear membrane, this one is inner nuclear membrane, and the space between both the membranes, it is perinuclear space. Now see, this perinuclear space along with outer membrane and inner membrane, it is known as, combinedly it is known as nuclear envelope. After this, you can see that nuclear envelope is not continuous. It is not continuous. There are certain pores present in between. So these pores are known as nuclear pores. Now if we move inside the nucleus, you can see here a blue colored whole medium that is acquiring that location or that position. So this blue colored, this medium is known as nucleoplasm. So this nucleoplasm provides a medium for performing those activities inside the nucleus, performing those activities which are responsible for controlling the cell activities. Now see, then nucleolus. Nucleolus is a spherical structure. This spherical structure is nucleolus. So actually we can say that if any RNA is present, that is ribonucleic acid, that is also a genetic material. And if certain genes are present of, or we can say if certain ribosomes are present, so all those substances are present within the nucleus, or this nucleus is also responsible for making those ribosomes. So that is why nucleolus is also a very important part of nucleus. Then this chromatin network, that is very important. Chromatin network, you can see this network or mesh like structure. So this network is actually that genetic material. You know, you must have heard about DNA. It is made up of proteins, and here this chromatin network, it is actually those chromosomes. But what happens when the cell, it is not in dividing stage, that time this chromosomes, they are in the form of chromatin. But when the cell undergoes division, this chromatin comes in the form of rod-like structure, that is chromosomes. And chromosomes contain DNA, and DNA contain smallest unit of heredity, that is genes. So actually genes are responsible for transmission of characters from one generation to next generation. Nuclear envelope. Nuclear envelope, it is outermost covering of nucleus. It is composed of two layers, that is outer and inner, that we have discussed. Then the space present between the two layers, it is perinuclear space. Now, a very important thing is here to know that endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum we have not discussed. We will discuss in later in further classes. Endoplasmic reticulum, it is an organelle that is in the form of certain layers, and it is continuous with outer nuclear membrane. So, nuclear membrane, it is continuous with several minute pores. Certain pores are present which are known as nuclear pores. Then second very important part of the nucleus is nucleoplasm. As you know that nucleus is control unit of cell, and it is responsible for having a control over all the activities of cell. So certain activities are performed within the nucleus also. So for those activities, a medium is required, and that medium is provided by nucleoplasm. Then the third part is nucleolus. So nucleolus is a dense spherical body that is present within the nucleus, and it consists of DNA, RNA, certain enzymes and proteins. So DNA, you already know that it is deoxyribonucleic acid, that is a genetic material. and RNA is also a genetic material, that is ribonucleic acids. Then those all materials are present within the nucleolus. So nucleolus is it plays a very important role in performing the activities within the nucleus. Then chromatin network. So chromatin network, as I told you, that it is a network of DNA and proteins only, but it is a network, it is in the mesh like structure or network form. That is why we are saying it is as network. Otherwise it is actually chromosome. So when cell undergoes division, it again condenses in the form of rod shaped structure, that is chromosomes. So let's discuss the functions of nucleus. First function of nucleus is it is a storehouse of genes. You know, genes, gene is the very important smallest or the basic unit which is responsible for transmission of character from one generation to next generation. You are able to see, someone is able to identify that your father is that particular person or your mother is that particular lady. Why? Because of those genes only, because those genes are responsible for inheritance, for transmission of similarities or differences. So genes are actually those units which are responsible for transferring genetic information from one person to other person. So nucleus is that storehouse, it is that area within the cell which is responsible for storing the genes which are related to the development or manifestation of all the body characters. So that is the first function. Then second one is it controls cell division. You know, this we will discuss later, but that what happens actually when there is cell division, what, how those chromosomes are attached or how they acquire their position within the cell. So this nucleus is responsible for controlling the cell division, means that whenever cell undergoes division process, because as I told you right now that chromatin, it is in the form of that network when the cell is not dividing, but it comes in the form of chromosome. So that is also a very important role in cell division process. Then third one is nucleus helps in formation of ribosomes. As I told you that nucleolus, that is a very important part in nucleus. Nucleolus is responsible for forming ribosomes. So nucleolus is a part of nucleus, that is why we can say that nucleus, it is responsible for ribosome formation. And the fourth important function of nucleus that we discussed right now, that it helps in transmission of characters from one generation to next generation. So these all are the functions of nucleus. So in this way we discussed what is the structure of nucleus, different parts of nucleus, and the functions performed by those different parts of nucleus. So that's all for today.